A cozy family dinner, the kind where laughter fills the air and everyone pretends everything's perfect. But then, out of nowhere, my own sister turns to me with a cold stare and says words that cut deeper than any knife ever could. "You're nothing but a burden, Emily. We've all been carrying you for years." The room went silent. Forks clattered against plates. My heart pounded like a drum in my chest. How could she say that? After everything I'd done for our family. But little did she know I had a secret, a truth so explosive it would shatter her perfect little world. And I was going to reveal it, no matter the cost. Stick around, because this story of betrayal and sweet justice is one you won't forget. Let me take you back to where it all started. My name is Emily, and growing up in our small town felt like living in a postcard: green lawns, white picket fences, and a family that everyone envied. My parents, Tom and Linda, ran a little bakery downtown. It wasn't fancy, but it kept us fed and happy. I was the younger sister, always in the shadow of Sarah, my older sibling by 5 years. Sarah was the golden child, straight A's, captain of the cheer squad, the one who could do no wrong. Me, I was the quiet one, the dreamer who spent hours reading books or helping Mom in the kitchen. But even back then, there were hints of trouble brewing under the surface. Sarah and I shared a room until she turned 18 and moved out for college. As kids, we'd play dress up and pretend we were princesses in a castle. I'd follow her everywhere, looking up to her like she hung the moon. But as we got older, things changed. Sarah started rolling her eyes when I'd ask for help with homework. "Figure it out yourself, Emily," she'd snap. I thought it was just big sister stuff, you know. The kind of teasing that happens in families. But looking back, it was the first crack in our bond. Our parents adored Sarah. Dad would beam with pride at her report cards, while mine were just good enough. Mom would bake Sarah's favorite cookies after her games. But when I won a spelling bee, it was just a pat on the back. I didn't mind much, I loved my family, and I figured that's how it worked. One star shines brighter, and the other supports from the sidelines. But deep down, a little seed of resentment started to grow in me, though I buried it deep. Fast forward a bit to my teenage years. Sarah went off to a big university on a scholarship, leaving me at home to help with the bakery. I didn't complain. In fact, I loved it. Kneading dough at dawn, chatting with regulars, it gave me purpose. But money was tight. Dad's health wasn't great. He had a bad back from years of lifting heavy trays. So, I started working extra shifts after school, saving every penny. Sarah would call home occasionally, bragging about her parties and new friends. "Life's amazing here, Emily. You should see it." I'd smile through the phone, hiding the exhaustion in my voice. One day, when I was 16, Dad had a scare, a minor heart issue that landed him in the hospital. The bills piled up like snow in winter. Sarah promised to come home, but she never did. "Exams are too important," she said. So, I stepped up. I dropped out of my after-school clubs, took on more hours at the bakery, and even started tutoring kids for extra cash. Mom was grateful, hugging me tight every night. "You're our rock, Emily." But Sarah, she sent a card, just a card. That was the first time I felt a real sting of betrayal, though I pushed it aside. Family first, right? As the years went on, I graduated high school but couldn't afford college right away. Instead, I stayed home, managing the bakery full-time. Sarah, meanwhile, landed a fancy job in the city as a marketing executive. She drove a shiny car, wore designer clothes, and visited home maybe twice a year. Each time, she'd flash her success like a trophy. "You should get out more, Emily. Life's passing you by." I'd nod, biting my tongue. What she didn't know was that I was the one keeping things afloat. Dad's health worsened, and Mom couldn't handle it all alone. My savings went to his meds, the mortgage, everything. But here's where the story starts to twist. One Christmas, Sarah announced she was engaged to Mark, a hotshot lawyer. The family erupted in joy. Plans for a big wedding began. And guess who footed most of the bill? Not Sarah. Me and my parents scraped together what we could, while Sarah complained about the small-town vibe. I smiled through it all, but inside questions nagged at me. Why did she act like we owed her? Why did she never offer to help? Little did I know, the dinner that would change everything was just around the corner. It was our parents' 40th anniversary. We planned a nice meal at home: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, the works. Sarah drove in with Mark, looking glamorous as ever. We sat down, clinking glasses, sharing stories. But then, midway through, Sarah turned the conversation to the bakery. "It's struggling, isn't it? Maybe it's time to sell." Dad looked hurt, but before he could respond, she pointed at me. And Emily, you're still there. At your age, you're like a weight holding everyone back. A burden. The word hung in the air like smoke. Mom gasped. Dad's face turned red. Mark shifted uncomfortably. Me? I felt like the ground had swallowed me whole. How could my own sister say that? After all I'd sacrificed. Tears stung my eyes, but I didn't cry, not yet. Instead, I excused myself and left the table, my mind racing. That night, as I lay in bed, anger bubbled up. Burden. I'd show her what a real burden felt like. But first, I needed the truth, the one I'd suspected but never dug into. And oh, what I found would shock us all. As I sat alone in my room that night, the echo of Sarah's words replayed in my head like a broken record. Burden. It wasn't just the word, it was the way she said it, with such disdain, as if I were a stray dog she'd been forced to feed. But to understand why it hurt so much, I need to peel back more layers of our family story. You see, our home wasn't always the picture of perfection. There were secrets buried deep, ones that Sarah had always known how to twist to her advantage. Let's go back to when I was about 10. That's when Dad's bakery hit a rough patch. A big chain store opened nearby, stealing customers left and right. Money got scarce, really scarce. We'd have nights where dinner was just bread and butter from the shop. Sarah, being older, noticed it more. She'd whine about not having new clothes for school or missing out on trips with friends. Why can't we be like other families? She'd ask Mom, who would just sigh and say, "We're doing our best, honey." I tried to help in small ways. I'd collect cans for recycling money or sell lemonade on the corner. Sarah, she distanced herself, started hanging with richer kids, pretending our life was fine. One day I overheard her on the phone. "Yeah, my family's loaded. Bakery owners, you know. It was a lie, but it kept her in the cool crowd. I never told on her. I was too young, too loyal." As teens, the gap widened. Sarah got a part-time job at a boutique, but every cent went to her wardrobe or dates. Me, I mowed lawns, babysat, anything to chip in at home. When Dad's back gave out the first time I was 14. He couldn't work for weeks. Bills stacked up. Sarah was away at summer camp, paid for by a scholarship that Mom secretly funded by selling her jewelry. When Sarah came back, she acted like nothing happened. "Glad you're better, Dad," she'd say casually, then ask for gas money. College time came, and Sarah shone. She applied everywhere, got accepted to her dream school, but the tuition, astronomical. Our parents took out loans, remortgaged the house. I remember the arguments at night, whispers about how they'd manage. Sarah knew, but she never offered to work or defer. "This is my future," she'd say. And me, I dreamed of art school, but when the time came, "Next year, Emily," Mom promised. But next year became never. I stayed home, turning the bakery around bit by bit. Added coffee, sandwiches, little innovations that brought customers back. Dad recovered enough to help lightly, but I was the engine. Sarah visited less, her calls shorter. She'd send pricey gifts for birthdays, things we didn't need, like a fancy blender, when we could barely pay utilities. It felt like showing off, not caring. Then came Mark. They met at work. He was charming, successful. The engagement ring alone could have paid off our debts. At the wedding, I was maid of honor. Smiling in a dress, I sued myself to save costs. Sarah complained about everything, the venue too plain, the food not gourmet. "Can't you make it better, Emily?" she'd snap. I did, pulling all-nighters. But gratitude? None. Post-wedding, things stabilized a bit. Sarah moved to a swanky apartment while I lived in the family home, caring for our aging parents. Dad's heart issues flared up again, meds, doctor visits. I covered it all, from bakery profits and side gigs. Sarah, she'd send checks occasionally, but always with strings. "Use it wisely," her note said, as if we were irresponsible. The anniversary dinner was meant to be a celebration. We decorated the dining room with streamers, photos from the past. Laughter flowed at first, stories of our childhood pranks, like the time Sarah and I built a fort that collapsed on us. But then, talk turned to the future. Dad mentioned retiring, selling the bakery maybe. Sarah jumped in, finally. "It's about time you all moved on." Her tone was sharp. When I defended the place, "It's our legacy," she exploded. "Legacy? It's a sinking ship, and you're the anchor, Emily. Always depending on Mom and Dad, never making your own way. A burden to us all." The silence was deafening. Mom reached for my hand, but I pulled away, storming out. In my room, tears came hot and fast. Burden. I'd been the glue holding us together. But why did she hate me so? That night, I couldn't sleep. I started digging, old family papers, emails I'd glimpsed but ignored. What I found in Dad's study changed everything. A letter, yellowed with age, addressed to Mom. It was from a lawyer, dated before I was born. Words jumped out. Adoption, biological sister, secret. My hands shook. Was Sarah not our real sister? Or was it me? I read on, piecing it together. Turns out, Sarah was adopted as a baby. Our parents couldn't have kids at first, so they brought her home. Then, miraculously, Mom got pregnant with me. They never told Sarah, fearing it'd hurt her. But she found out somehow, maybe as a teen, and used it to manipulate them. Extra allowances, the scholarship push, all because she felt entitled, like they owed her for the lie. But there was more. Financial records showed Sarah had been siphoning money. Small transfers from the bakery account to hers, disguised as loans, thousands over years. My burden had been funding her life. Anger surged. She called me a burden. She'd been the leech all along. I clutched the papers, mind whirling. Revenge wasn't just an idea now, it was a plan forming. But how to reveal it without destroying our parents? I needed time, strategy. The truth would come out, and when it did, Sarah would be the one left speechless. With the discovery burning in my chest, the days after the dinner felt like walking on eggshells. I avoided Sarah's calls, pretending to be busy at the bakery. Mom and Dad tiptoed around me, their eyes full of worry. She didn't mean it. Emily, Mom whispered one morning over coffee. Sarah's under stress at work. I nodded, forcing a smile, but inside a storm raged. Stress. Try guilt. I knew now why she'd lashed out. She saw me as a threat to her perfect facade. Let's rewind a touch to fill in the gaps. After the wedding, Sarah's visits were rare, but when she came, it was like a whirlwind. She'd critique everything: the house too cluttered, the bakery outdated. You need to modernize, Emily. I'd listen, implement her ideas quietly, online ordering, social media. Business boomed, but credit, she took it. See, my advice worked. Dad's health declines were my wake-up calls. Last year, he had surgery, nothing major, but recovery was slow. I managed alone, hiring temp help with my savings. Sarah sent flowers while I juggled bills and bedside vigils. One night, exhausted, I checked the accounts. Odd withdrawals, 500 here, 200 there. Family expenses, the note said. But from Sarah's email trail, I traced them to her. She'd accessed the old joint account, thinking no one noticed. Why? Her life wasn't as glossy as she painted. Mark's firm hit hard times, they were in debt. Lavish trips, the apartment, all on credit. She needed cash, and our family was her ATM. The adoption letter explained her entitlement. She felt like an outsider, so she took what she thought was hers. But me, the real daughter, I was the reminder of what she lacked. I confronted no one yet. Instead, I gathered evidence. Printed statements, copied letters. Hid them in my room like treasure. Questions plagued me. How long had she known? Did she resent me from birth? Childhood memories flashed, her stealing my toys, blaming me for messes. Was it jealousy all along? A week post-dinner, Sarah showed up unannounced. "We need to talk," she said, breezing in. Mom fussed over her, making tea. Dad sat quietly. I stayed in the kitchen, listening. "Emily overreacted," Sarah said. "I was just being honest. She's stuck here, draining you both." Draining? My fists clenched. But I held back. "Not yet. She found me later. Sorry if I hurt you," she said, not sounding sorry. "But it's true. Time to grow up." I stared, seeing her anew, the fake smile, the superior tilt. "Maybe you're right," I replied calmly. She blinked, surprised. But inside, my plans solidified. Our cousin's wedding was coming up, a big family event. Perfect stage. I'd reveal everything there, in front of everyone she'd impressed. But doubt crept in. Would it break Mom and Dad? The secret was theirs too. I weighed it. Betrayal versus truth. Justice won. Sarah had to face consequences. I spent nights scripting my words, practicing in the mirror. "You called me a burden. Let's see who's been carrying whom." Meanwhile, life trudged on, bakery busy, parents aging. I felt alone but empowered. The whispers of doubt turned to resolve. Sarah's betrayal wasn't just words, it was years of theft, lies. Revenge would be exposing her, letting the family see the real her. And as the wedding neared, tension built like a gathering storm. The cousin's wedding was 2 months away, giving me time to build my case. She called weekly, pushing for the bakery sale. "I have a buyer," she said. "It'll free you all. Free us? Or fund her." I played along, agreeing to meetings. But secretly, I consulted a lawyer friend, quietly, no family involved. "This could be fraud," he said, reviewing the transfers. "But family matters are tricky." Flashbacks haunted me, like the time Sarah borrowed my college fund. I'd saved 500,000 for art school. She said it was for an emergency. Her car broke down. Promised repayment. Never happened. I let it go, but now it fueled my fire. One evening, Mom sat me down. "What's going on between you and Sarah?" Her eyes were tired. I wanted to spill everything, but held back. "Just sibling stuff." I lied. She hugged me. "You're so strong, Emily. We couldn't do without you." Her words healed a bit, but the betrayal stung deeper. Sarah visited again, Mark in tow. Dinner was tense. She boasted about a promotion, while I served food I'd cooked. Midway, she dropped a bomb. "I'm pregnant." Joy erupted, hugs, tears. But me, shock mixed with suspicion. Was this timing convenient? To soften us up later, alone, she cornered me. "You'll be the best aunt. But seriously, sell the bakery for the baby." Her eyes gleamed. I saw it. Manipulation. "The baby was Leverett's," I said flatly. She frowned but left, evidence mounted. Emails showed she'd forged signatures on loans, using Dad's name, thousands more. My heart broke for our parents. They'd protected her secret, and this was repayment? As the wedding approached, I prepared. Copied documents, a speech ready. Betrayal wasn't just the dinner words, it was a lifetime. But revenge, it would be poetic. The night before the wedding, I couldn't sleep. Papers spread on my bed, adoption docs, bank statements, it all connected. Sarah found the letter at 15, confronted parents privately. They begged her to keep quiet. In return, she demanded perks, college paid, no questions. But she went further, stealing when needed. Why me as the target? Jealousy. I was biological, the favored one in her mind. But reality. I sacrificed while she took. Plan at the reception during toasts, I'd speak. Reveal the adoption first, gently, then the thefts. Show proof. Let family decide risks. High. Parents hurt, Sarah exposed. But silence meant more betrayal. I chose truth. Morning came. Wedding beautiful. Sarah glowed, rubbing her belly. I smiled, biding time. Weeks of planning followed. I met the lawyer again, got advice on legal steps. No charges family, but restitution possible. Emotional prep, journaled my feelings. Cried over lost sisterhood. Talked to a friend for support. Sarah sensed something, called more. "You okay?" she'd ask. I'd say, "Bakery thrived under my care." Giving confidence. Plan refined, use projector at reception for docs. Dramatic but effective. Doubts, was I becoming like her? No, this was justice. Wedding day. Vows exchanged, reception buzzing. Toasts time. Sarah spoke first, sentimental, then me. Heart racing, I stood. "I have a story," I began. Room quieted. Told of our childhood. Love then, gently, "But there's a secret." Revealed adoption, parents nodded, tears flowing. Sarah paled. Then the thefts, showed slides. Gasps, she denied. But proof undeniable. Mark looked stunned. Chaos ensued, arguments, tears. But truth out, Sarah left in tears. Family in shock. Parents apologized to me. Days later, confrontation. Sarah admitted all, begged forgiveness. Returned money, promised change. Baby on way softened things. We rebuilt slowly. Mark helped with debts. Bakery saved. Months passed. Sarah had the baby, a girl. I visited, held her. Bonds mended, those scarred. I enrolled in online classes, pursued dreams. Family closer, honest. Sarah changed, helped more, grateful, justice served without destruction. Looking back, betrayal hurts, but truth heals. Family isn't about blood, it's trust, support. Don't let resentment fester, confront with kindness. Revenge isn't destruction, it's exposure for growth. If you're carrying unspoken burdens, speak up. You might shock everyone, but for the better. Remember, justice comes when least expected.